So how do you assess the level of self-love that you truly have inside of you? There's one really simple way to do that. Hello, my name's Zimmaron, and thank you so much for listening, watching, or consuming this content from wherever it is that you came. I am a spiritual teacher. I've lived in ashrams. I've worked with masters, saints, shaman, healers from all different walks of life, different cultures, different places around the world. I used to produce pilgrimages. I have done a lot of zany and wacky things in my life and truly lived an Alice in Wonderland type life. And at the same time, in a very grounded and real way, I've run numerous businesses and made multiple seven figures online over the past couple of decades. And I am a guy that has always been behind the scenes with a lot of great and interesting and wonderful human beings on this planet. And that has given me the inside scoop on a lot of things. And look, truthfully, I had a lot of issues growing up. I had a lot of difficulties. I had a lot of physical ailments. I had a lot of emotional trauma and abuse. And I struggled a lot in this world and being on this planet. And eventually I walked away from everything to travel the world to really figure out what my place was, who I was, what this world is about. Because for me, there was always something intrinsically wrong with what I saw out in the world. There was something that was just always completely off. And through my travels and through the mystical arts and through doing the work that I did with, like I said, some really awesome and cool people on this planet and true masters in their own rights, and quite literally masters in other ways, I can truly say that I am blessed to understand how the universe works, understand how this world works, and what the true meaning of life is. And I can tell you now that most of the world does everything backwards. Quite literally. When it comes to true fulfillment, when it comes to true happiness, when it comes to true peace inside of oneself. And we know that that's true because if you look out in the world at what's going on and how people live, and the craziness, the anxiety, the depression, and the madness, and the hustle, right? The go, 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 and all of that, it's just all laughable at the end of the day, not from a callous place. I say laughable as far as from a metaphorical place of the madness, right? The craziness of how we've been conditioned and how we've been programmed. But from a real place, I have the utmost of compassion because that's how we've all been conditioned. That's how we've all been programmed. And the world itself has this grip on all of us in all the different ways. And we are all, to a certain degree, victims of it. And all of our issues and wounds and insecurities and fears and all the madness that we have inside of us, all the non-love that we have inside of us, is not our fault. It's a part of the journey. It's a part of embodying on this planet, is to take on all of these things because it has to be real, right? So the environment in which you embody, that environment is what's going to dictate all the things that you take on as life lessons and as opportunities for you to truly realize who you truly are and who you were born to be. So what has all of that got to do with self-love and understanding where you're at with self-love? A lot. Because you have to have that foundational understanding that you are not who you think you are. That most of your, what you would consider to be your personality traits, are not really personality traits. They're programs. It's conditioning. People, like as an example, laziness is not a personality trait. Someone being deceitful and lying is not a personality trait. It's a program. It's a defense mechanism. It's a reaction to something that happened in the past that is being triggered and re-stimulated in the moment, that causes a person to behave in certain ways. In some cases, yes, it becomes a program and becomes more automated the more that we get away with things or think that we do, the more we give ourselves permission to continue in those false behaviors. And then they become programs, and then it becomes harder and harder to unravel it all. But self-love is not about just taking care of yourself, having your spa days and your vacations and all of that. It's a small part of it. As a matter of fact, a lot of people really indulge in a lot of that stuff. A part of self-love is allowing yourself and giving yourself the permission to put yourself in situations that force you to grow, that force you to expand upon who you truly are, to be uncomfortable. Because if you're not uncomfortable, then you're not growing. And a lot of people avoid initiations, is how we used to call it in the ashram. But to avoid lessons and avoid circumstances and situations that are difficult or challenging because it's uncomfortable and it would bring up issues, right? It would bring up all these programs and bring up all these self-doubts and bring up all this discomfort. But that's where you grow. That's where you change. That is an equally important part of self-love, as is the vacations, the spa days, and all the other type of aspects of self-care. So, how do you assess where you're at on the spectrum of self-love? Let's just say we can measure it from 0 to 100%, okay? Of how truly self-loving am I? Well, firstly, I need to define love. And I can just do that with one word: unconditional. The love that I talk about and the love that I teach about is unconditional love, which is the only true love that exists in all of creation. Anything or any other aspect of love that has any conditions on it is not the love that I'm talking about. That is a corrupted love. That is a lower level of love. So that word alone, when you start looking at love in your life, whether it's self-love or love for others and other aspects of your life, you really need to look at the conditions of where you have them, right? Where are those conditions? What are those conditions? Because those conditions are preventing you from truly experiencing the unconditional love inside of you and being who you truly are and who you were born to be. Okay? Simple. So, how do you assess your level of love? Very simply, you look at the outer world and see how you interact with it. Your level of unconditional love for every aspect of the world around you, whether it's other people, other animals, the world around you, the news, the things that are happening out here in the illusion, that is your barometer. Because if you're experiencing any aspect of non-love, whether that's judgment, condemnation, scarcity, fear, getting upset in any way, shape, or form, any form of non-loving reaction or response to anything at all in your outer reality is showing you exactly where you still have conditional love for yourself inside of you. Let that sink in for a moment, because that is such a powerful statement. You see, I've always told people, tell my clients, tell my students, and I go into a lot of depth with this, that love, unconditional, is the keystone in the dam for all your entire transformation in this world, and to realize the full unlimited potential that is inside of you. 100%. 100%. And using love as a barometer versus non-love, or love versus fear, allows you to dissect and be able to determine exactly where you need to put your emphasis and focus on healing yourself or changing certain belief systems and programs and conditions, and finding and unraveling all the limitations and all the trauma and all the abuse and all the non-love that's inside of you. And the outer world is the foil for that. It's the reflection, because everything that you magnetize to you that solicits and creates any type of non-loving reaction inside of you is a non-loving reaction inside of you. It came from inside of you, because your outer reality is a manifestation of what's inside of you. Now, yeah, I'm taking this to some high levels here, because everything is one. There is no separation. You are fully 100% an aspect of God, of the oneness, of the quantum field, in form. Experiencing yourself through this avatar, this character. And so everything that this avatar has experienced, and the demographic and geographic and all the circumstances and situations in which it embodied, was specific to its needs, its lessons, its set of experiences that it needed to have and wanted to have. By design, 100%. And if I'm losing you with all of this, and you need to watch a lot of my other content, quite frankly, or come to one of my free live reclaiming sessions, or join into any of my courses and programs and whatever else I have out there, okay? And you will come to realize everything that I am saying from the inside out. Because I don't want you to blindly believe what I say. I want you to have the experience of it yourself. That is what is important to me. Because what I say doesn't matter. You know how many people watch my courses, my programs, and this and that, and how many people actually truly implement everything or truly do the things that I say? Very few. Most people just treat it as entertainment. It's like watching a movie. Oh, that was awesome. And then walk away. And then they might take a little bit of it here and there and blah, 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 blah. And they just miss out. But if you actually implement the things that I teach, and the tools and the techniques, especially with the reclaiming session, and then my instant breakthrough system, and the ultimate self-mastery coaching program that I have, that's a 6-month coaching program. If you choose to join any of those, I get into it really, really deep, because you need to understand and you need to experience what I say. Because when you do, your whole life will completely transform. Everything else is just words. And that's the reason why, if you think about it, just think about it this way. Who knows you better than you know yourself? Your God self does. Nothing is a substitute for that. Sorry. Nothing in the outer world is a substitute for what your higher self is able to achieve and accomplish. As a matter of fact, your higher self, when you're in tune with your higher self, which is ultimately you, at the end of the day, the source of you, the quantum field, your God self, whatever labels you like to use, it will guide you to what you need to do in the physical realm. It will guide you to the right coaches, the right teachers, and all of that quicker and faster, without the need for the hustle, without the need for the grind. And you become guided rather than, like I just said, the hustle, the grind. That's the old way of doing things. But a lot of people tend to focus on the material world, which is backwards. But the ego doesn't think so, because the ego is so grounded in this conscious experience, and it's assessing everything based on the conscious reactions and the conscious experiences that we've had and grown up with. And so it believes that all of this is more important than what's going on inside of here. But what's going on inside of here is what impacts everything in your outer world. Because if you feel terrible inside of here, then guess what? Your outer world is gonna be terrible too. Right? It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. If you have programs inside of you that are telling you that you're not good enough, that you're less than, that you're a bad individual, that you're a sinner, that you don't deserve love, that you don't deserve happiness, then your life is going to reflect that. And that's the reason why we have these barriers, right? I mean, look at the fact that there's some people that are able to become multimillionaires, right? And then there's other people that try and do the same thing, and no matter what they do, they're not able to generate that level of income. Or you look at people that are healthy and they can almost do whatever they want and they're just healthy. And there's other people, they eat healthy, they do the right thing and everything, and they're sick all the time, or they've got major health issues. Why is that? It's not because of the material, physical realm. It's a part of it, but that's not the source. It's what's going on in here unconsciously, because 99% of what's going on inside of you, you're not even aware of. And they're programs. So when you're able to look at your outer reality and say, oh, look what just happened, and you react to it in a certain way, then you're able to start looking at, well, why am I reacting to it? Why am I creating these certain negative experiences in my life all the time? Or why is it that this keeps happening to me? Because rationally, as an adult, you can look at it and say, well, it doesn't happen to everyone. Or maybe it does to the type of people that you attract to you, but we know it doesn't. Why do I keep failing all the time? Why do I keep feeling this way? What is it inside of me that's causing that? Rather than, oh, that person's so annoying, that blah, 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 and this, I don't like my boss, and, you know, the world's so messed up, and it's just impacting everything, it makes everything so difficult, blah, 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 blah. Do you see the difference? All of those negative reactions and non-loving reactions to the outer world is showing what's going on inside of you. And so that is how you assess how self-loving you truly are, because self-love equals outside love. Let's just call it outside love, okay? The outer love. It's the same thing. It's one. It's all one. You either have love inside of you fully or you don't. And if you're projecting non-love out into the world or responding and reacting to the outside world with any aspect of non-love, well, then that non-love has to reside in you because you're the one that's sending the non-love. It's coming from you. Duh. And I don't mean to say that in a disrespectful way, but that's as easy as it is. That's the true barometer. Whenever you send non-love out into the universe to anybody, anything, in any way, shape, or form, you are feeding lower vibrational energy into the world, and you are creating lower vibrational things happening in the world, and you are hurting and harming yourself because you're lowering your vibration in order to be able to send that non-loving, lower vibrational energy out. It's the grand irony. And you pay for it. We all pay for it. But we're the ones that are responsible for it. And we think that like there's this punishment, you know, karma and punishment and all of that. No. No such thing at all. And that's why it's sort of like none of our business to look at what's happening to other people. Because you might say, and a lot of people do, right? They say, well, how does this person get away with this? And how does that person get away with that? It's like, well, firstly, you don't know what they're getting away with and what they're not, just because on a physical realm, it looks like they are getting away with certain things, number one. And number two is, it's technically none of your business. The universe can handle itself. The universe is pretty big. It's pretty impressive, right? I mean, it created all of this, and it's created all of us, and it's created multi-dimensional realities and many different life forms, and it's infinite, and it's God. So it knows. No one can get away with anything. It's the greatest illusion. And that's the reason why it's terrible when people are reacting and responding and trying to enact revenge and all of that sort of stuff, because all they're doing is hurting and harming themselves at the end of the day. They've fallen into the trap, because at the highest plane of creation, everything is you in the first place. It's like, oh, there's me. Oh, there's another aspect of me. Oh, there's another me. Oh, there's another me. There's another me. And when you understand that intrinsically, that's where the love comes in. That's why you can be loving, all right? That's why Jesus and Buddha and all of these great masters can walk in this world in love, true love, unconditional love, regardless of what's going on in the world, because they know it's all just an aspect of them, and that everything is playing out exactly as it needs to. And ironically, when you're in that consciousness, you're inherently protected from all of that non-love that's out there. Now, I know some people will say, well, but Jesus was crucified and this and that, and there's all these stories of good people that were harmed and all of that sort of stuff. And I only have one thing to say about that is, A, you're immortal. Everyone's immortal. B, as a temporary situation. C, you don't know the reason why those things happened and what was needed and what energetic repercussions were there. At the same time, that was all agreed upon and chosen at a higher level, and it was necessary to happen. You see, when we judge things from our human small perspective, a lot of this stuff isn't going to always make sense. But we were also in a different reality back then. Things are changing now. The vibration of the planet is changing now. It's becoming less and less likely for certain individuals, especially if they're truly coming from a place of unconditional love, that they're going to be crucified, for lack of a better terminology, in this realm. It's less likely to happen unless it truly is something that's needed in order for them to actually be able to become bigger. Because if you look at what happened to Jesus, he's a household name around the whole planet. Yet, if he was not crucified and didn't go through what he needed to go through, no one would have ever heard of him. And again, I'm not saying that that's what we need to do. I'm not saying that that's what's necessary now. Again, the vibration of the planet now is in a very different place than what it was back then. It's not the same world, not even remotely close. Physically and vibrationally, we're in a mass global spiritual awakening. We're going through a wormhole of accelerated transformation because the vibration of the planet is increasing significantly and very fast. And so all the non-love has to come out. And so this whole hustle and grind mentality is going to get worse and worse for people. It's going to get more and more difficult for people to make things happen that are out of alignment with who they truly are and who they were born to be, and out of alignment with the greater mission and greater purpose in the world. And in order to do so will take a lot more energy. There will be larger consequences for those, whether it's sucking the life out of you and causing more disease and illness, or whether it is just things being way more difficult and harder to accomplish and achieve. But a lot of it is also to do with this, because this planet, at the end of the day, is a playground. It's a playground. It's heaven. This is a place to come and have a vacation and come and have the experience that you want to have and can have. And it's becoming that more and more as we head into the fifth dimensional consciousness and realm of existence. But in order for that to happen, the old ways are going to continue to crumble, and it's going to get a lot worse out there. A lot worse. Because most of humanity is still in the illusion, and there is a lot of vanity, a lot of ego, a lot of corruption, a lot of inequality, and a lot of mechanisms that are fighting the inevitable due to ignorance and due to fear. That's all. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. And that's all you have to do, is just assess how you're reacting and responding to the outer world. And that is a direct reflection of what's going on inside of you, and the level of unconditional love that you have to everything and anything in the outer world is the reflection of how much unconditional love you truly have for yourself and on the inside. And so when you're able to start now then looking at that and seeing the lessons and the gift and the blessing of everything that's happening, in order to dissect what's going on inside of you and where the limitations are and where there's still programs and where there's still trauma and emotional blockages and things that need to be removed, and you start actually doing the work to let it all out and let it go, then you will transform like you could not ever even possibly imagine. And there is no faster way. And that's what I teach. And I hope that you join me in one of my free live reclaiming sessions, or in one of my courses and programs, or wherever you find me, because truly, 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 it is my honor to be here and to have the opportunity to share this with as many people as is interested in learning and transforming themselves from the inside out.